Good evening and welcome to Across the Pitch. We're the soccer show for people who think pitch is something that's thrown in baseball. Now, being an American podcast, when I do meet people on the street sometimes and mention that our show is called Across the Pitch, the first thing that they ask is, oh, is it about baseball? Which, of course, if you're across the pond or not familiar with baseball, there is the position that throws the ball to the batter is called a pitcher. So when the ball is thrown to the batter, that's called a pitch. And of course, in association football, the pitch is where you play the game on, and that's commonly called a field over here in the States. So that just kind of gives out a little explanation to the show opener here. And we have a very, very special episode with you today. I have been joined by Luke Foster of Loughborough Dynamo. Luke has played all over England throughout his career, played for the Sheffield Wednesday Academy, Oxford United, Stevenage, Lincoln City, also did some time with the national team in England, and he really has been around every part of the game. He's been in so many different levels. He's even done some work in the commercial side of some teams, so quite an interesting interview. So let's welcome Luke along now. Thank you for joining us on Across the Pitch. We're here with an extra special guest today. We have Luke Foster, currently of Loughborough Dynamo, on the line with us today. Luke is a defenseman who has been all around England and is going to tell us a lot about different stops throughout his career today. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm very well, thanks. Yourself?
Doing well. We really appreciate you coming on the show, and you may have caught when we interviewed your manager, Lee Attenborough, a few months ago, and Loughborough has kind of become one of our favorite clubs since then, and from what I'm hearing, you're going to be back with them next year, right?
Yes, I am. I've agreed to stay again another year. Obviously, I'm getting. I won't say getting old, but I'm getting towards the end of the my career kind of thing. Been around quite a long time now, and while I still feel good and fit, then I'm going to carry on playing. So yeah, I'm going to go at least another year and see how we get on. I'm enjoying it.
When we talked to Lee, he said that you were a top guy on the team and really one of the leaders out there. And you guys had an outstanding end to your season where you won your last 6 games. You finished, I believe it was just 1 or 2 places outside of the playoffs. Do you think that this is a team that has a chance to get promoted to the next division next season?
Yeah, I genuinely do think, at the end of the day, it's a good squad. And obviously I don't want to get too carried away just because we had a good end to the season. Obviously, it all starts again, and you're starting from afresh, and everyone's on an even keel again. So, there's a lot of hard work to do pre-season, to get off to a good start. But there's no reason why we can't take the positives from the season, build on it, and just improve on a few areas. There's no reason why we can't be in a good position, at the end of next season for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way you guys finished, I don't see any reason that you can't. And Lee seems to really have a good idea of where he wants to go with the team. I know it was his first year in there. Now, another thing that we did see is at the end of the season that you were named the supporters player of the season for Loughborough. I'm sure that must mean a lot to get honored by the supporters. Tell us a bit about what that award meant to you.
It's always nice. Whatever level you're playing at, whatever position, and for whatever reason, it's always nice to get recognition from the supporters who come and watch every week. Whether that's or whether it's the players who give it to you, whether it's the management. It's always nice to get recognition, no matter what job you're doing. So obviously that's nice, and I'll treasure it like the other awards I've won throughout the years. That'll go right into them. Just as important.
Yeah, I mean, especially as a defender, it seems that, that whoever the last guy kicking the ball into the net is gets so much of the publicity, but it really is nice to see the supporters recognize what you're doing out there on defense.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, strikers get more majority of the recognition, and to be fair, rightly so. If you've got a striker who's going to score you a lot of goals, then that's it's not easy to come by. So that I say, fair play to that. But we've all had such a good season, and to be quite honest, we haven't been fantastic, believe it or not. We've got a great squad, a good team, and actually the defence is good. But we're probably a bit disappointed with how many goals we've conceded, and we have been, unlike us as a team, we've not been brilliant, especially away from home. So that's one thing we've got to improve on. And obviously, me being the older pro, I've got to try and improve that as well. But yeah, it's a good award to win, and nice to get a bit of recognition, like I said before.
Yeah, it's like that old saying goes that the defense is what wins the championships. Before we move on to talking a little bit more about the rest of your career, I do have one more question I want to ask you about Loughborough, and that was your manager, Lee, that we spoke with a couple months ago. He said that you would be a guy that would have some great stories. So I started thinking, maybe you have a great story about Lee. So tell us the best story about the gaffer.
To be fair, I mean, in terms of stories, obviously, I probably don't see as much as some of the other lads with regards to the gaffer at Loughborough, because obviously I live a distance away. I know Lee's been there at the club longer than I have, and he knows the majority of the lads from, I think, before they were even at Loughborough, and obviously they spend a lot more time together than I do, because they train a lot more together as a team. Because I live about an hour and 20 minutes away. I live about 70 miles away. All the lads are quite local to Loughborough, so I don't get down as much. In terms of stories, not really that.
Well, that's a long travel that you have just for you to get to Loughborough.
Probably an hour and 20 minutes, probably an hour and a half of traffic. But yeah, it's not just round the corner, but it's more at my age now and stage of my career I'm at. It's not a financial decision. It's about enjoying it, because I've been in clubs before where financially it's been very good, but I've not really enjoyed it. So now I just want to enjoy my football, however long I've got left in the game, whether it's a year, whether it's another 5. I want to enjoy it, and at Loughborough I have done for a season and a half now. So long may that continue.
Yeah, it's about the love of the game and playing proper football. That's a term that we use around here a lot.
Exactly.
Now, so before you got to Loughborough, you've played all over England. You had quite a career at Oxford specifically. You made over 100 appearances for them between 2007 and 2010. They were in, at the time, I believe, what is now called the National League. What are some of your favorite memories from playing at Oxford?
To be fair, that's probably the club I've got so many memories, and obviously playing. When I first signed for Oxford United, I was still quite a young man, still learning my trade, and obviously at the time the manager was Jim Smith, who was obviously the manager at Derby County when they were in the Premier League, with all the superstars which played under him there when they were a top side in the Premier League, and he was assistant to Harry Redknapp. So obviously, a man of that stature, I was kind of, to work alongside him was a real eye opener. That's an understatement. Some of the stories which he used to tell us, and just to work under him, and that learnt me a lot, because he was old school, and it was quite harsh really, but it probably set me on the path to having a decent career. And I would say he was the one who started that off, and gave me the opportunity at Oxford. I was a bit of a untried, untested. Back then, I think I was only about 20, 21, 22 maybe, and I'd already played Football League, had a good start on the ladder, he gave me a chance at a big club like that, and then obviously I made the most of it and had 3 years there, which ended in promotion to League Two. So which was a nice end to the season.
Yeah, you've been part of a few clubs that got promoted. I'm sure that must be something that you look back on your career and look at the promotion clubs, and those have to be some of the real accomplishments that you look at. When we've talked to other guys, it seems like those team accomplishments, like the promotions, outweigh something like an individual goal scored.
Yeah, most definitely. Because at the end of the day, you can have a fantastic season as individually and collectively, but you can still finish mid-table, and in effect it means nothing. So even if you're a striker, you score 50 goals and nothing comes of it, it's a bit of a waste. Whereas if
Right.
as a team, you get promoted, and even if you've not all been outstanding, obviously you're going to be all played well enough to get promoted, but obviously that far outweighs any individual accomplishment, like you said, for sure.
And now, so another thing that you mentioned just there was that at Oxford, that was at the beginning of your career, that you feel like the coaching that you received there really put you towards the path on your career. A little bit before that, though, you did play at the Sheffield Wednesday Academy. They're obviously one of the oldest clubs in England, and a lot of history there. What was it like coming up through their academy?
It was fantastic. Obviously, being a Yorkshire lad and a Sheffield Wednesday at the time were probably, I would say, the bigger of the Sheffield clubs, and obviously they were when I was through the Centre of Excellence and going into my scholarship upon leaving school, they were in the Premier League. So to do your scholarship at the Premier League club, your standards had to be absolutely, massively high. And obviously things like that give you good habits for later on in your career, because you've had to be at the top of your game. I managed to get through my scholarship, and then I went on the journey I've had throughout different clubs over the years. But yeah, it was great to, I was probably 12, 13, 14 when there was players like Di Canio, Paolo Di Canio playing there, Benito Carboni, Des Walker, Kevin Pressman, and many, many more. And to watch football games as a young man, or soon to be a young man, watching players like that was just like, it made you think, God, that's where I want to be. That is what I want to do. And I was even there. I was a ball. I think I was a ball boy. In fact, if you remember Paolo Di Canio when he pushed the referee, and I was there for that game. I'm sure I was a ball boy for it. But yeah,
Wow.
It was a great memory, even though it wasn't a good thing what happened. But it was funny at the time.
So Sheffield, that was your team growing up?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, obviously I always admired Manchester United even as a kid, really, as a child growing up. Manchester United and Sheffield Wednesday. I would say Sheffield Wednesday. But when I left Sheffield Wednesday, I didn't actually support them really. I kind of swayed towards back to Manchester United kind of thing.
Okay.
Who I've supported since I was
Yeah, I mean, in those days, Manchester United, they were just so dominant.
Exactly. And they were. Well, not only that, they were just everything which epitomises a top club. All the professionals I've had over the years, and the players, and my earliest boyhood heroes, apart from Paul Gascoigne, were most of the Man United players. So yeah, that's still my team today, really, I would say.
Oh, okay. Sounds like they're working on making some transfers here, so maybe they'll be headed back up the table and at least back into the top 4 next year. I'm an Arsenal guy, so I hope not. But like you said, you have spent a lot of time with a lot of different teams, and one of the teams that you played with in league was Stevenage, and I believe that was the first team that you played in the EFL in League Two. So tell us a little bit about what the differences that you noticed as a player between league play and non-league play when you made that jump up to League Two.
Well, they were actually my second. The first club was Lincoln City when I was 20. When I was 20 years old, 2021.
Oh, okay.
And that they was in the English Football League as well, which was probably. But yeah, obviously they were both in League Two anyway. But yeah, I think the difference, to be honest, even looking back, in terms of an actual massive jump in ability, there probably isn't. There's a lot of teams, even now, even going back then when I played, there was a lot of teams who would have, could have played in the league above, and a lot of players who could have, who probably might not have been good enough for League Two, and probably really only a conference standard, but for whatever reason they're playing in that league. But I think the biggest difference is probably, I don't know, mentality. I think as soon as you go into the football league, the mentality changes altogether. I know this sounds, I don't mean to be dismissive and flippant of non-league football, but it seems to be it's a bit more serious, because even in the National League, it's still classed as semi-pro, really. But obviously, when you're in the football league, it's, you're a full professional. It's a serious, everything. I think it's more mentality than ability, to be honest.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. When we follow the National League, especially, you look like a team like Leyton Orient that won the National League last year. They're already one of the favorites to win League Two, and we've seen some other teams like Tranmere and Luton Town that have made the jump and gone right up. So there's definitely a lot of talent in the National League, and that's one of the reasons that we enjoy following non-league so much, is that they're, if you look at League One even versus the National League, there's just not that much of a drop in talent. And like you said, you have clubs down in non-league that are every bit as good as those clubs that have that league title, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even League One, like you said, it's a decent jump, but you could take that a conference player, National League player, stick him in League One, and it'd probably be okay. It's only really a jump from kind of obviously when you get to the Championship, that's then in my opinion a massive jump in ability.
Yeah, absolutely. The Championship just seems to be kind of that next level up. But yeah, like you said, once you get to third, fourth, fifth division, there's probably players in any division that could do well at the next level up. Another thing that I was, when I was looking through your career stats and things like that, one thing that jumped out at me is when you were at Southport, you played about 64 games for them. You got on the score sheet 6 times. I also saw you got on the score sheet a few times at Loughborough. Would you say you consider yourself a scoring defender?
Do you know what? No, I really don't. I think I've had one. I think I've had 2 seasons where I've scored probably maybe more than 5 or 6, and that's absolute max. But to be quite honest, that's one thing which I've always been disappointed with. I don't know, for whatever reason. I always have chances and I always have opportunities, because I'm obviously my height and my ability in the air. I always get chances, but for some reason I don't score enough for a centre half, and that's probably one of my biggest, I would say not a downfall, but a side to my game which really should have been better for sure. For whatever reason, I don't know, but yeah, I should have scored more. Put it that way, I think.
I think the numbers look pretty good for a defender, especially I've just noticed as you've gone on in your career that it seems like your scoring numbers have gone up a little bit, and especially, like I said, that 6 and 64 for Southport, that's really not a bad number at all for a defender.
Yeah, that's probably the best. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but that's probably the best goal scoring period I've had, and for whatever reason, it just I got quite lucky. We built a lot, we worked on stuff based around me, to give me space in the opposition box. And I just was lucky enough that good delivery, and I seemed to got on the end of things. And yeah, I think that's one in every 10 games or so is not too bad a return for a defender.
Yeah, I mean, for defense, I mean, if you see a defender scoring once every 10 games, to me, that's a great number. Now, speaking of scoring, now it wasn't a goal that you scored yourself, but you did make an appearance for the English national C team back in 2007, 2008. In that you got a national cap there against Bosnia, and you did end up getting an assist in your only national appearance. So tell us a little bit about that. I know that had to be a special experience.
Yeah, it was great, and I think there was 3 or 4 times before that I'd missed. I should have probably played. I don't know. Looking back, I don't know, probably quite a lot. But I missed the squad once because of injury. I was suspended twice for 2 more games, which I would have been in the team for. And then after that, obviously, I moved on, and I was too old. I was kind of too old then. It was under 23s, I think, if I'm right. But yeah, obviously, when I did go, it was great. I would have preferred a bit more glamorous fixture, playing in Italy or even Switzerland or Spain or something like that. But we got Bosnia and Herzegovina, which don't get me wrong, was a great experience, but it was men against boys. It was like an under 15 team playing against an adult side. For whatever reason, they were a lot better than us physically, even ability wise. They were good. I managed to get an assist. It was a great pass, actually. I remember it well, and it was a threaded pass behind the defence. It was a great pass but I would have not swapped. I would swap that, should I say, for a clean sheet and a win, obviously, because we conceded 5 goals, and when you play in defence, that's not good. That's not what you want.
No, not at all. That'll certainly be one to tell the grandkids about that you get out there for the national team and represented country.
Yeah, of course it will. Yeah, and it was a great experience. The treatment from the FA, PFA, or I'm not sure who was running it at the time, but it was great. They picked you up in a car from your house. Took you to the airport. The facilities were top class. The hotel, the food. You didn't have to lift a finger. It was really good experience all around.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about football is you do get to travel the world and play in some places that you might not have gotten to see otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah, it's I've had a good career. Arguably, if I'm honest, I probably should have achieved a bit more. And I always say, in fact, this is a saying from my own dad, and he said there's been so many sliding door moments, and there is in football anyway. But I've had so many where I've just missed out on certain things, and things could have been so different. And we're talking, millimeters away from things being different. But that's life, that's football, and I've enjoyed getting paid to do something I love since leaving school to now. So obviously I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about it, like you just said, is getting paid to do something that you love and having a long career like you have, and to certainly all the experiences and the different places that you've played. Is there any one place that you've played out that sticks as a favorite for you?
I would have to say Oxford, just for the simple reason that I was there for three years or just over, and I was settled there. I was playing good football. Probably I'd say up there with the best football. In terms of on the field, I was comfortable. I was happy on the field. I was enjoying it. So I'd have to say there. But on another side to it, I would have to put Stevenage in line with that. I was only there for a year, but the memories that I had from Stevenage will live with me forever. And to get promoted in the first year to get to League One from League Two was just an awesome achievement. And I would say they're the 2 favourites. I would say.
And now looking back on your career, is there a favorite coach or manager that you've had? I know that you mentioned at Oxford earlier. Who are some of the other managers that have influenced your career the most?
Well, there's been some managers who have influenced me in a good way and influenced me on a probably a negative way. But I'm going to stick with the good ones, obviously. And I would say, for obvious reasons, I'm going to say Keith Alexander, who was my manager on my first experience in the Football League. He signed me from Alfreton when I must have only been 20, probably 21, and gave me a chance in the Football League, and I absolutely loved it. That was where I looked and thought, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be in, and I loved it. And I was only young, I was a really young man playing with some great players, some players who ended up going on, the likes of Gareth McCauley, who ended up playing for West Brom and played for obviously the national team. And there's so many more. But yeah, it was a great period, and I loved every minute of it at Lincoln. So I'd say Keith Alexander, and then the other one I would have to say, for a different reason, was Graham Wesley, because he signed me for Stevenage. We got promoted. It took me a while to get on board with his methods because he's a very different manager, but I did, and everything, and that's ended up obviously resulted in getting promoted. And the reason I'm saying Graham Wesley is because after I did my cruciate ligament, things were looking a bit glum. I didn't know where I was going to be. I didn't know if I was going to be able to play football again or who was going to want to sign me. And obviously, I've been out of the game for a season after Rotherham United. And he gave me another shot in the Football League, going into League One with Preston. And very grateful for that. He gave me that chance. He knew if I got fit, I was more than capable of playing that level. And it gave me an opportunity, and I'll always be, very grateful for that.
Now you mentioned Preston there, and they're, of course, a Lancashire team, and we actually kind of focus on a lot of Lancashire teams here on our show just because the fans are so passionate up there. Well, what's it like playing up there? Would you say that when you go up there at the Northwest, that the fans are just a little bit crazier than everywhere else?
Yeah, you know what? Now you've mentioned it, yeah, I would probably agree with that. I'm trying to think. Don't get me wrong, fans are passionate wherever you go. Lancashire, yeah, they are really passionate. Can be a little bit crazy, but obviously it's great. It's great when you're playing, but it's not so good when you're on the other end of it when you're not the favourite player and you're getting a bit of stick. But that's part and parcel of the game. You've got to be able to take that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is just that the passion of the fans when you get below the Premier League and the Championship and start looking at these clubs where you've got fans that are out there cutting the grass on the field on Thursday and things like that. That's where the real passion and, like I said, the proper football comes in.
Yeah, it's a lot more community based and a lot more, personable because, especially when you get to a few leagues below the national league, with like similar level to Loughborough, you've got people who are volunteering, who are taking the time out of the day for free to, like you said, to help with a pitch or help run the bar or with, raising money, whatever it is, and that's where. That's the beauty of the game. Obviously, Premier League clubs and Championship clubs don't need to do that because they've got millions of pounds and they've got full staff and they've got a budget which is obviously humongous. So they don't need to worry about that. But when you come down, everybody's got to chip in. So that's what I love about this. I love that about this level.
Without the lower levels, there would be no Premier League and there would be no championships. It really, like you said, it's the heart of football.
It is, yeah. And to be fair, I do think, I think it could be structured a lot different. I think probably some League One clubs who are struggling financially and have to really get the finances in order and scrimp and scrape to get through the season.
the League One and even the Championship, there's been some teams that have had some trouble, but like you said, we actually we pretty closely follow Accrington Stanley here on the show, and we've actually had
Yeah.
Andy Holt on to talk just about that, and he's kind of turned them around from a club that was just losing money hand over fist and made them into a sustainable operation. But like he said, and one of his big things is just that the Premier League does have all these billions of pounds, that just not enough of that is trickling down to the leagues that are keeping the Premier League in business and keeping the flow of players coming in and things like that.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was. That before the reception seemed to cut us off. That's what I was touching on. I mean, there's some like the Accrington Stanley chairman. What a job he's done, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. But I mean, I think there's got to be a slightly different structure, in my opinion. The Premier League club get all this money. I think it should be drip fed further down the leagues, all the way down to non-league. There's more than enough money in the Premier League clubs, and the amount of money they get, even 1%, something as ridiculous as that, 1% of all the Premier League clubs, is going to add up to a nice sum of money to share out, even if it was just the other football league clubs. But I think there's enough money to go around because there's more and more non-league clubs, Loughborough's level and even higher, which end up going out of business or nearly going out of business and are struggling. And I just think it's such a shame that there's all this money at one end, and the players get, and the clubs don't get anything. For example, I'm going to give you an example now. When I was playing in the Football League, every single season we got vouchers from the PFA for about, I think it was £250, £300, something like that, to get your boots free. So you didn't have to pay for, because they give you a voucher because you're playing in the Football League. Now, I know that it's kind of it might be seen as a reward while you're in the Football League, so you're entitled to the perks. However, you're earning a lot of money playing in the Football League. You don't need free vouchers. You can afford to buy your boots. The vouchers should be given out to the non-league players who can't necessarily afford to buy that many boots throughout the season.
Right, because you've got non-league players are not even getting paid and having to buy their own boots. Meanwhile, you have somebody that might be making a six-figure contract, and then they're getting free boots on top of that.
Exactly, and half of the time, to be quite honest, majority, including myself one year, you ended up giving the vouchers away to either a friend or somebody else you might know who plays lower down the football pyramid, who you might say, look, you can have these vouchers. I don't need them. I've got my own boots I can buy. So I just think that they're just not enough. There just needs to be a bit more help and assistance from the guys at the top, from the Premier League especially, and just help the clubs out a bit more, and keep things sustainable. Because if not, one day there's going to be no non-league football, because people are just going to run out of money, and I think it's going to cause an issue in another, even more than it is now. So I just think there needs to be a bit more, a different structure in place. But it's easy to sit here and say that, of course.
I'm really glad that we got to talk about this, because that is something that we just talk about so much on this show, and especially like we had talked about with Andy, especially over at Accrington. He kind of is the voice of the lower leagues. He's the one that's standing up and saying, look, you've got all this money, we're down here, like you said, throw some free boots down or something. At least, get us some hot dogs at the concession stand or something, and keep the grassroots of football alive.
Exactly, and listen, I'm not specifically talking about money. I'm not talking about it doesn't have to be physical cash to help the club out, but there's other ways that these Premier League clubs and organisations can help smaller clubs, whether it be somehow with equipment, whether it would be with arranged football games, whether it's doing something combining the two clubs together to try and get, more fans through the door. I don't know. Listen, there's a million and one things you could suggest, but I just think there needs to be more done, to be honest. But again, my opinion doesn't count for anything. Like a lot of people's don't. It's not really good. It's going to fall upon deaf ears, but hopefully one day it will, and then a lot more non-league clubs in a better position. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's something that's going to need to happen because these lower levels of football are just like I keep saying, they're the heart of the system, and there would be no Premier League otherwise. But now we really appreciate your time, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so I just have kind of one last question for you, and that would be, you mentioned that you're getting later in your career, so I'm sure that you've started thinking about what you're going to do after football, or are you planning to get into coaching or team management? You seem very passionate about the financial end of things. Are you looking at maybe getting into team management, coaching? What are you planning to do when you hang up your boots?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to experience all sides of football. In terms of, obviously, I've been a player. I've looked from the outside looking in terms of when you're not playing and you're not in the team and you get to look at things from a different angle. I was the commercial manager at Oldham Athletic Football Club only two or 3 years ago, so I got to have a good insight onto the commercial side of it, onto obviously trying to raise money, trying to obviously sell sponsorships, shirt, everything on that side of it. And then obviously now with my experience, I'd like to think I could add something, in terms of coaching or management. I never wanted to, I'll be deadly honest with you. I got to the age of 20, even at 27, 28 years old, I said, once I leave football, that's it, I'm done. I started to lose the love for the game a little bit towards the end of my career. Just certain little things just to wind me up, just, the way things are done and handled in lots of aspects really. But yeah, I never wanted to coach or manage. I said, once I'm done and retire, that's it, I'm done with football, I'm out. But actually, started to enjoy football again, and I think now's the time I'm going to start looking at my coaching badges. I should have done them before. I should have done them years ago. Never interested me. But now I'm going to start over the next couple of seasons. I'm going to get my badges done. And yeah, I most definitely would like to have a shot at coaching or management. Probably I would see myself more as a manager than a coach, to be honest. But who knows? We'll have to see what opportunities come in the future. But yeah, most definitely would like to pursue it and see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, well, with the experience that you have, I think that whatever you're going to do, you're going to be a big asset to whatever club is you're with, and a big asset to the players that are there, and you have a lot to teach them about proper football.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And to be fair, there's a lot of, I would say, I'd just like to touch on this actually while we're on there. The thing which I really enjoy playing for Loughborough, and I'll tell you something, the lads at Loughborough, to be fair, good set of lads, and I genuinely mean that, because I've come across, obviously, hundreds of players over the years, and, there's been some great lads I still speak to now, there's been some, not so keen on, if I'm honest. But the only one thing which disappoints me about the level that Loughborough are playing in, is that there's so many players, young players, who have got a big attitude, and I've come across it many games last year, and for whatever reason in the Football League, no, from what I can remember, you never used to get that as much. Obviously it's still come across the one or two, but for whatever reason, whether it's they're a bit more, they don't need to have an attitude because they're playing at a good level, but there's so many players last year who had a really bad attitude, and they were really cocky, really arrogant, and I don't why they've got an attitude. I don't know. They've played at step 53 for all the career, and it's not step 53. I'm being exaggerating there. What is it, step 12 or something? But they've never even played higher than the Conference North, which is one below the National League. So I don't know why they've got this attitude, and that's the only one thing. which disappoints me. But the lads at Loughborough are not like that. Even the young lads just seem to be quite grounded and good lads, which is why I've enjoyed it and wanted to sign again, because it's a nice atmosphere. It's a good place to be, which is at nearly 34 years of age. That's the main thing for me, enjoying it and being around a good set of people.
Yeah, you want everybody there to be there for a common goal, and certainly when guys have a bad attitude or they have that me first attitude, that's something that you get one guy like that in the locker room, it can kind of sour the whole team.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, to be fair, I think at Loughborough, because it's no secret, it's not. Nobody is that well paid. It's they didn't have a fantastic budget, but it's a well-run club, And to be fair, the gaffer and Brad, who's obviously the assistant, the time and effort they put in, I think the lads can see that and also want to repay that and think, we're all on the same page, and I think that's why we ended up doing probably overachieving really, but we did really well last year. So, it's looking. It's exciting in a fashion, and I signed there originally because it was a bit of a project, and I still think it is. There's some young players there. Obviously, it's a strange one for me to be so much older than the manager. Lee's only 20, I think it's 27, 28. And I'm 34 this year, and that's the first time I've ever been older than a manager. But obviously, when you get older, there's always a chance of that. But we're all on the same page. It's a good atmosphere, good set of lads, and it's could be an exciting season next year, but obviously we've got a lot of hard work to do before that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like Lee mentioned that he was the youngest manager ever to manage at that division, and I think that you guys have got a good thing going there, and certainly that the way that you finished out the season, that just tells me that you guys have got things headed in the right direction.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, and that's the main thing. So I'm looking forward to next year, and let's see what happens. But yeah, I could, to be fair, I could speak all day. I've only just skimmed the surface with you. I've got so much we haven't discussed and spoke about. I could go on forever. All the clubs I've been at and different things I've done. I could go on forever, but I appreciate it's an interview, not a novel.
Well, we're going to plan on talking to you again here and maybe go over some of that other stuff closer to when the season starts, because like I mentioned, Loughborough is kind of one of our teams that we feature here on the show, so we're really looking forward to the season and keeping up with you through then. Was there anything else that we didn't get to that you wanted to make sure that we talked about today before we wrapped up?
No, not really. Not on my part. Obviously, it's your interview. I wanted you to ask me whatever questions you wanted to ask me, and yeah, I'm happy to answer any of them. So for now, yeah, more than happy with the interview. Just give me a shout if you ever, we can catch up again sometime, I'm sure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on the show, and our listeners over here and also over there. We kind of have listeners on both sides of the pond that are going to be excited to hear from you. And like I said, I will shoot you a message again, say closer to the start of the season, and we'll talk again then.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, thanks so much, Luke. You have a great afternoon or evening for you.
Yeah, it's evening for me now.
Okay, yeah, it's not even quite noon over here yet.
Big time difference, yeah.
Big time difference.